Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. For this review, we're going to take a look at the S.H.MonsterArts Godzilla 2017. And this particular design is based off the Netflix original animation series for Godzilla. And let's have a look at the packaging first. So unlike previous S.H.MonsterArts Godzilla figures, this packaging design is much more sci-fi in its appearance, and I quite like it. It's got like a targeting kind of artwork printed on there on the window, which is quite nice, and through the window you can see the figure inside. And spinning around to the side, you got different poses for Godzilla, and on the back you've got a nice close-up shot of Godzilla's face, and this actually could be the front, I'm not sure, but anyway, on this side you've got close-up of Godzilla's face, and on the other side you've got a kind of close-up back shot of Godzilla, and on the top you've got another window that lets the light through, and Godzilla printed in big white letters there. And on the bottom you've got Godzilla and some company information. So let's go ahead and open this guy up. And here is the inside of the packaging for Godzilla, and inside the packaging I actually found this card as well. It's a illustration by Hiroyuki Saishita, and it's a nice illustration, and on the back Godzilla 2017. I guess you can display this with the figure if you wish. And speaking of packaging, it's one of those things that's very hard to get away from when you've got a figure with a very long tail. It's hard to not waste space when you're trying to protect the figure as well. So unfortunately, half of the packaging is pretty much empty. And now for a closer look at the figure. Just gonna do a quick spin around so you guys can have a look at the figure. Very nicely detailed back spikes, nicely detailed with green edges, and the glossy texture makes it actually look like stone or even jade possibly, which is quite nice. Have a look at the tail, very nicely detailed, and the front of the figure and the feet. So the figure itself, the design is quite bulky. It's got relatively long legs, which is fine. I think the design is quite nice, well proportioned. The arms are also quite muscular and quite long, which is also fairly nice. The abs are quite prominent in this design. Not sure if I'm a fan of that. It kind of looks like I don't know, a deformed human body, because you can also see his front chest muscles, which is a little bit odd for me. But other than that, the sculpting detail is really nice. Very sharp sculpting on the body. Nice use of the green paint to give him some visual interest there. It actually kind of makes him look half tree trunk, half kind of Godzilla skin, which is interesting. The only spot that I don't really like is the design of his face, and also the sculpting detail on his face seems a little bit softer compared to the rest of the body, especially on his snout here. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but it just looks a little bit softer and not as defined. And also the design of the head itself, it's kind of pointy and it's long and thin, which is not how I usually think of Godzillas. It's kind of down to personal preference if you like the head or not. The other thing to note is that he doesn't have any nails painted into his hands, so they're just straight plastic color, and also the nails on his feet are unpainted as well, which is a little bit of a bummer. One thing to note about the spine pieces is that they're actually kind of soft. So even though they look pointy and sharp, when you push down on them, they actually bend. So you're not going to poke yourself too badly on these spine bits. And the one here on the back, you can actually bend all the way down. And in terms of articulation, he can look up that far and down to there. He can tilt his, bend his neck from side to side, and also rotate his head from side to side, and also at the neck I think it rotates as well from side to side. He has the opening mouth gimmick, but it doesn't open very wide, so that's as far as it opens. And for his arms, he's got a big deep ball joint that goes really deep into his body, and it allows him to raise his arms up that far and down to there. And there's a bit of butterfly action going on there, and I think I just lost the shoulder piece inside the cavity, so just make sure that you don't lose that cover piece when you play with his arm. Oops. Or you can just pull it off and take that shoulder piece back out. Okay, and he has bicep swivel. No, he doesn't have bicep swivel, but it does rotate all the way around at the shoulders, and I don't want to lose that bicep piece again, so I'm not going to rotate it too far. With his elbows, he's got double jointed elbows, so it gives him almost a 90-degree bend, but not quite. And he's got ball end hinge for the wrists, so all the way around and in and out. And for his upper torso, there is a ball joint, I think, and it allows him to kind of move around like that, but then you get massive gaps in the sculpting, which is not great, so I probably don't recommend you doing that. And it does have a little bit of side to side tilt. And for his waist, there is a joint there. You can see the line going from there to there, but it offers very, very little articulation. It's more of a wriggle than anything. No rotation either. Well, there is a little bit, but not too much. And coming down to his hips, he can split his legs that far apart, which is pretty good for a Godzilla. Come in this far, and since it's come off, you can have a look at the joint system inside, and it simply pops back in. So being on a ball joint, it does give him a bit of thigh rotation, and he's got double jointed knees, which gives him again less than 90-degree bend, and then straighten to there. And he's got a kind of an interesting mid shin articulation point there. I think it's a ball joint, and it lets him kind of roll his lower leg around like that. And he still has a ankle joint, which gives him this much pivot from side to side and this much angle from top to bottom. And coming down to his tail, he can bend his tail up that far, back down to about there, and side to about there, and obviously should be the same on the other side. So yeah, pretty good articulation overall for a Godzilla figure. Just be mindful not to lose those shoulder pieces into the arm cavity, because you would have to pop the arm out to put it back on. And in terms of height, Godzilla measures about 17 centimeters to the top of his head, which is about 6.69 inches. And lengthwise, he measures around 35 centimeters from his head to the tail, which is about 13.77 inches. And now for some size comparisons. First up, here is the original Heisei Godzilla. Here he is with S.H.MonsterArts Millennium Godzilla, S.H.MonsterArts 2014 Hollywood Godzilla, S.H.MonsterArts Shin Godzilla, S.H. Figuarts Son Goku, DC Icons Superman, and finally Marvel Legends Cyclops. Overall, I think this is a pretty decent Godzilla action figure. The sculpting's really good on this guy. The proportions are pretty nice as well. He's big and bulky and muscular, which I think is very appropriate. Articulation's pretty good on this guy as well, and the paint app is quite nice, especially on the back here, on his spikes. There's a couple of little things that I don't really like about this guy. The one thing being the head design and the head sculpt, but that's more of a design choice than anything. And the other thing is, it's a little bit of a shame that his claws and his toenails are not painted, but I think that's how he's been depicted in the Netflix animation anyway. So apart from these two little nitpicks, I think this is a great action figure. Definitely not something I would recommend for the casual Godzilla collector, but if you are a fan of Godzilla, then definitely get this guy. He will fit in nicely with the rest of your S.H.MonsterArts Godzilla figures. And that pretty much sums up my review. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time for another toy review.